So we had 5 rooms. We took 2 of them, and then we had 21 people through the house. 21 in 2.5 years. That's how we survived. We got our rent down that way. What you get with me now these days is just me. It's much easier just to be you. Just let it all out. In the beginning of every company, I always set out to systematically remove myself from it. I would focus on the play to earn crypto space. I think play to earn is going to be absolutely massive. Making investments in the space, I think, comes naturally. It's a very markets-driven business. I thought no one wanted to come and work for us, and I was almost tapped out. I look at it as like you got a centralized coin versus a non-centralized coin, and I think a non-centralized coin in the future will become more and more valuable. Here's a way to give back in some way and share all that stuff, that hardship I've gone through, and hopefully from reading this, people get inspired and create something.
So that together we have clarity, direction, and success way beyond what we ever previously thought possible. Here's your host, Frankie Lee.
Welcome back to the Frankie Lee podcast. Today we have another legend, and I'm so glad I've got him because he is one of these men that's massively into the Bitcoin space, like myself too, so I'm lit up about this. We've got Fred Schebesta, who set up Finder.com, and .com.au as well, and scaled that to $1 billion valuation, and he's doing bits in the industry. It's a comparison site. He's lit it up on all levels, and I'm just hyped to have you here, mate. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks very much, Frankie, and loving your Bitcoin stacks. Much love,
mate. Honestly, I don't know how much you got stacked, but you got a lot more stacked than me. I'm way behind, bro, way behind. But I think before we go into like the crypto stuff and all the other stuff that you're doing, I think a lot of people would want to know more about your backstory. I mean, I'm reading your book. I told you I'm up to page 85. I've not completed the whole thing. I only got it delivered on Thursday. But I just want to give people a bit of a backstory because you started off with practically nothing as far as what it says in your book, and you first scaled a media agency with your friend. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. I started building websites in my college room just for fun, and then I started selling them to people, so building their website. Then started helping them market their website. And, that was quite a journey, that's for sure. Not an easy business at all, by any stretch of the imagination.
Because it's a service business.
Brutal. Not something you want to...
Is that what kind of made you want to sell it and exit that then? Just because of the fact it was a service business and you know how much more difficult they are to scale and how many more headaches you get with it than if you get with like a comparison site or a products-based business?
Yeah, I think I just wasn't very good at it either. There are people who run service businesses and run them really well.
Yeah.
But I'm just not good at it.
Yeah.
And so it was probably better that someone else ran it, and someone did go on to run that, and that still runs today. That's the strange part. Yeah, and a lot of the team is still there. But it wasn't for me. I wasn't very good at it.
Yeah, no, and I suppose as well, that the one thing that we can identify from that is you gotta lean into what actually lights you up. You know what I mean? Like you clearly identified the service game wasn't your game, so there's no point leaning into something that's not your game, is it? Like that's the kind of one there. I mean, So when you exited that business, obviously, even though you said on this, you just said that you weren't very good at it. Like let's just clarify. You exited for how much, considering you weren't very good at it?
It was about $1.5 million.
Yeah, which is not a bad kind of exit for a business that you were just passionate about at the end of the day. What did you go and do once you exited that business? What was it that kind of put you on the path to finding the Finder type of model and kind of everything that led to that?
Well, at the time, we were obviously marketing a lot of people's websites, and I was, really passionate and interested in affiliate marketing. I thought it was a fascinating space. And Frank and I used to, at the other co-founder of Finder, we used to, we used to experiment. This is with the freestyle days, just in building little businesses on the side. So we registered domain names, we put up little websites, and experiment. And we had a poker site, we had a sports betting site, we had a Obviously, the credit card finder was one of them. We had a Sudoku site, Mother's Day presents. We built, 39 different businesses. I went and counted them up that basically failed. And then the 40th one was Finder. 40th
one. If that doesn't show you that the persistence doesn't pay off, then I don't know if anything will, to be honest. Like, how was it that Finder stuck out then? Was it just because that one made more money at the time, or was there certain other components to that stuck out for you?
I like finance. I think it's a great space. I think it's interesting. I like it personally, and Frank likes it as well. So I think that's part of it. And then I think the other part of it was that a lot of people, it wasn't that cluttered. So there wasn't that many people doing it, which was nice. And the other thing is we took an approach where, it's an extremely content-led approach. And that was something which naturally sort of came to us. And obviously we've expanded past that and created a brand and all sorts of things since then. But that was the beginning for us. And for us, that was a space we really understood. And so naturally, everything we just did made more traffic and made more money. It wasn't like we were inventing anything. We were just doing what we'd mastered in our agency, and we were doing it for ourselves. And that just created this, it was just a naturalness of growth. It naturally grew by itself. And I feel when you're in that flow and just everything, if you just work more, you'll make more money. That's a great place to be. And it's in those moments, sticking with that business, even if, it was kind of weird. Like if you think about it, creditcardfinder.com.au as a business is, it's really, it's quite an unusually, it's a niche business really, if you think about it.
But I loved when I read your book, how you and Frank went dead in on that niche and went all in on the niche, and then you expanded it. It's not like you went like finder.com.au and finder.com and all that stuff is like everything now, like comparison of everything. But obviously you made it massively profitable from just a financial space in just credit cards, and then expanded it out, which is kind of like a lot of people are trying to shoot too many fish in the barrel all the time and not really understanding where their market is. What was it? Was it just your experiences again with service-based businesses that allowed you to kind of really dial in to the credit card thing as you kind of think from day one?
I think the credit card thing came from, I just analyzed the internet and found out what are the most profitable, some of the most profitable niches on the internet and the hardest keywords to rank for. And, finance was one of them. Credit cards was just I saw another business doing something similar. I thought that was interesting. I knew they were making some good money. I didn't know how much money exactly, but I knew they were making some good money.
Yeah.
And I talked to the affiliate networks as well. I said, okay, what companies are making a lot of money? What niches are working for your network? So whatever's working for them, clearly someone must have some ideas in another vertical. And there were other businesses that, like a lot of shopping stuff, that never quite understood how to crack that one. And I don't think, we have a shopping section on Finder today, but in the beginning, it just didn't come as naturally to us. I think the content and educating was something I was doing a lot of in my online marketing. So I would teach people online marketing. I would, talk about the latest trends. I would go to seminars and I would talk at conferences about it, and I would write articles in an email. I used to write an email newsletter back then. I'd literally personally write it.
There's a lot of money in email newsletters even today that people leave on the table. Like there's a lot. There's that one that in America called Trends, isn't there? That makes an absolute fortune. There's so much money in email marketing. If you people think that stuff's gone out, but it's still very much active if you're good at it like you were.
Yeah, and I think that was just you find like a vertical and you find something you can write about and you write strongly about it, and not everyone was that interested in my email, but some people were, and I think that was really nice. I think it was a good channel for me to build that thought leadership. And I think so the idea of thought leadership and educating came from that internet marketing days. And then we just went and started teaching people about credit cards. Because I think, Frank and I grew up, and we had this house that we rented together for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And, it was pretty hustly. We ran it like an Airbnb before there was Airbnb, before there were hashtags, before there were smartphones. And that's how we survived. We got our rent down that way.
How many people did you have in the house back in the day?
So we had 5 rooms. We took 2 of them, and then we had 21 people through the house. 21 in 2.5 years.
That shows you the dedication you have to obviously making. I love the fact that you've taken something which is a cost and you've cash flowed it to make it a revenue source. Like so you at least live for free, because you weren't paying to live there with that many people running through the house.
No, we just had to survive.
Yeah, but did you just work out of home then when you were setting up Finder? Just I believe it's from the
No, we had an office, and so obviously we made that work, and then we just lived very frugally in our house, which was wild times. Yeah.
Did you find many like regulations that you had to get over in the early days in regards to like selling financial products, like in the way that you were selling them?
So not really. Like, we don't actually sell the product. Someone at the bank provides it.
Yeah.
In the beginning, and so we did have a credit license that we had to get, and we went and got that. We leaned into that. Anytime there is regulation, we just lean into it really, and just get what it is.
Just kind of find a way to make things happen and make things work.
Yeah, I just see those as opportunities, because some people just didn't do that, and then they just stopped operating.
Yeah, because obviously they're forced to by the ACCC, I think. Yeah,
and you've also got to, work on the compliance, and you've got to do there's a lot of work in compliance. Compliance is intense.
Yeah.
All the training of this crew, and, you obviously, there's a lot to it, but I think a lot of people don't realize that, the Finder does have a lot of licenses to do what it does.
Yeah, and there's a few parts in your book where I kind of felt like your life kind of pivoted. One of those points was when you said that you were trying to be someone else because you were trying to operate in suits and dress a certain way and be a certain person because you thought that's how the world wanted you to turn up. But you said that there was a day when it kind of all dawned on you and changed, that the whole perspective changed for you.
100%.
Walk me through that process, because I think there's a lot of people out there, especially listening to this podcast, that they listen to it because they want more out of life. They want to do more in business. They want to do more in their mindset. They're obviously listening to this because they want to grow. That's the fundamental reason they listen to what I do and who I speak to. So to understand how you identified that within yourself and how you took it on board and accepted it and then owned it would be great.
I think at its core, I can also be quite a lazy person to some extent. I want an easier route. It's a natural human trait, by the way, that humans want things easy. They don't want pain. They avoid pain and they go towards pleasure.
Yeah.
And I just found it much easier to be me than to be someone else. So stop bothering trying to be a sort of an image or a person of someone else. It's a lot of work. I have to figure things out. Whereas if I just said, what do I want? What do I like to be? And just be that, then it's lazier actually. But it does require an internal change in judgment, right, of yourself and what other people think. And that work I did, and I think I sort of did even more in sort of 2000 and I'd say 14, maybe 2015 on. For the last 6 years, I've worked with an emotional coach who really helped me, remove my self-judgments and, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I get it wrong, all sorts of really intense self-judgments, right?
Yep.
Which you carry around as baggage as well.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to tend towards getting real lazy in life, and I prefer to not carry that baggage around, and just let out the natural you even more. I think what you get with me now these days is just me. It's much easier just to be you, just let it all out. And if you come with that vulnerability and that innocence, people accept that. You can say some pretty outrageous things. People go, oh, well, they can justify it. They go, oh, well, he's just being him. It's okay. So I loved that. And I was like, that was sort of a byproduct, but I think going back, I remember after we sold the first business, I sort of realized that the route I'd taken in my life was not the traditional route, but it seemed to have ended me up in a pretty good place. And when I realized that, I was like, wow, I should keep backing myself. I've actually got some good ideas. I'm actually pretty good at this game. I've actually, and so then I just stopped trying to be other people and just started to just unpack and unravel those things about myself that I am, and I just leveraged that further. I went deeper and deeper and stopped a lot of things, and I started a lot of things in myself.
I think it's good that you can have that self-identification with yourself and obviously accept yourself as who you are. But I think there's a lot of people that are having that internal conversation that haven't written down on paper who they actually are and who they actually want to turn up to the world as, rather than, they turn up as a version that everyone else thinks that they want to see.
Yeah.
And it's kind of in society, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now. I think it's more prevalent than ever. That's why I just wanted you to touch upon it, because it's such a powerful thing. Another pivotal point that I noticed when I read the book is the fact that you were really struggling in Australia, as far as I understand, at the time when you set up finder.com.au, and you were doing really well and you had everything rolling. And you kind of went to your partner and said that, you just needed to get away and kind of wanted to go to America. And I think from what I understand, I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, but maybe you were trying to escape yourself and your own reality, maybe in certain points, or just give me so, because that moment there was a real pivotal point in your life that kind of allowed you to identify what you were meant to be doing in the business as well. So can you give me a bit of an insight into like how that all came about?
In the beginning of every company, I always set out to systematically remove myself from it.
Yeah, I like that.
That's my personal goal with every business. That's probably, some people will have a different view of that, but essentially I want to remove myself from every single operation in the company, because I'm actually not the best operator of things. There are great people out there that can operate companies and all sorts of different aspects of it. And there are small, tiny bits of things that I think I'm good at, but all of those don't culminate in being, the manager and the leader on an ongoing long-term basis. I think I am good at managing and leading in the beginning, or when something needs to be overhauled. I'm exceptionally good at that. And good at making decisions and strategizing and changing things. But then after that, it's best if I hand that over to someone else.
Are you kind of similar to myself, where you like doing things at the start, and then when it starts to become repetitive, you're like, okay, I don't like this anymore because it's not new anymore. Is that kind of how you feel about things?
A little bit of that, yeah. But I think I'm happy to go through that as long as I've got a plan of how to evolve. And it took me a long time to figure that out in any enterprise. Like, how do you scale it? How do you grow it? How do you systemize? How do you create processes so you can extract yourself? And I kind of extracted myself from the company and then realized that I had, that was it. I was just not, I stopped turning up to the main leadership meeting because no one reported to me anymore, which is fine. Actually, it's great. It's great. And it's probably my best place, Do
you think at that point in time you were attaching your purpose to Finder, and then once you'd removed yourself, it kind of like you lost your purpose? Is that how you kind of felt?
Completely. I was lost. I was in a really dark place. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know what I needed to be for the company either, which is, that's a really tough place to be.
Were you thinking about like selling out or doing something else, or what was kind of running through your mind at that point?
At the time, I was actually going through a divorce as well. So that was a pretty intense time. And I sort of just kept put my life on hold for a while. I feel I've done that same thing during coronavirus. Actually, I feel like my life's been on this weird pause, and I'm just itching to go forward, and excited about the future as well. Not that I've been super creative during that time, but I think there's a lot more potential, which I'm excited about. I think when I zoom out and look at that time, objectively, it was a major change I had to have in my life, but I don't think changing my whole role inside a company at the same time as getting divorced was an ideal thing. I tried to keep that just a little bit stable, so at least I had something that wasn't necessarily responsible for too much, but at least I just ticked along, and I contributed where I could. And then once that was settled, then I went to America. That's when I went, okay, I'm ready to go and do this. And it's still probably one of the top experiences I've had in my life.
Just I remember you writing the job ad and you thinking you'd got no replies.
Oh yeah, that was a brutal. I thought no one wanted to come and work for us, and I was almost tapped out. I remember, but Frank and Jeremy are both very supportive. Jeremy obviously came in a little bit later, but is I would say a co-founder or Finder as well, and just very supportive, very positive guys, very dealing with all sorts of problems, but I think in a really good way, in a constructive manner. And I just needed some help emotionally. That was I was a long way from Australia, like a very different time zone. I had no friends. I had no one else that I knew. It's kind of like alone in a city, a big city, but completely a stranger.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know who to ask for most things. I just sort of asked and just built a new network, and I built a new friendship and started from scratch.
Yeah, and that's hellishly difficult because obviously in America it's a lot more competitive than. How did you even break into that market when you started? Obviously, it's all right just employing people and you've got this and you've got a little bit of cash flow from the other business and all that stuff. But how do you go about dominating and kind of really building Finder in the American market? Because that is something that's not easy, especially with the competitive keywords and stuff that you're going after. Yeah,
I think I really. Sort of saw the market as a bigger market. And when there's a bigger market, there's just more customers with more demands. And they have, and you may think in Australia, this small market of left-handed golf club buyers is very small. Well, in America, that's a massive business. Taking a smaller slice to begin and a tighter focus is, there's nothing wrong with that, and that's sort of how we began, and then we sort of expanded from there. It's okay to be humble and to start small, and then really we just sort of accepted that and built from there.
Did you have to take on like any venture capital or any investment then to be able to launch into the American market, or did you just do that all from the cash flow of Finder.com.au?
Yeah, all from cash flow. We haven't raised any money yet for Finder.
So is it something you're planning on doing in the near future, or?
Yeah, something we're working on right now because we've just got such a great opportunity. We've sort of proven the model, and it's time to go to the next level.
It's a great domain. Do you know what I mean? Like, to even acquire that domain is an expensive ordeal, I'm sure.
Yeah,
it's like nothing like that comes easy.
No. It's definitely, and and you're right. The domain name says what it does on the tin.
It's like my domain name, content removal. It's like it says what it does.
You know what it is.
You know what it is out the gate, and if you don't know what it is and you go on the website, you know what it is. Like they remove online content. Sweet, I understand it. It's like Finder. Okay, they allow me to find things on the internet. It's pretty self-explanatory. Do you find a massive competition with brands like Amazon and stuff like that, with and things like that in America, or are they not? Even though I know they're a product website, but because of their reviews and the nature of how they're getting people to use their platform now, do you find that people want to compare on there, or do they come to Finder to compare?
So there are other big competitors in the US and the UK and around the world, but the big tech players aren't really in the space as much. Amazon has backed a big one in India. Actually, Amazon works with us because they want more traffic from us.
That's a good play.
Yeah, so it's sort of we work together in that sense. I think it's just Google tried once to do comparison, but it closed that down because it's just not their core business.
If you were going to advise then someone on this podcast who's listening to this, who's a young entrepreneur, just wants to get started, obviously you said like e-com wasn't really your space, but do you think affiliate marketing then is I'm not saying affiliate marketing in terms of like going and trying to compete with Finder.com, because that's not going to happen anytime soon. But in terms of like affiliate marketing in general, is that a good place for a lot of people to learn the direct response marketing, the kind of stuff that you were doing back in the early days, the viral stuff, the growth hacking, all that kind of stuff, and the affiliate play allows them to kind of pull some revenue that way? Is that the kind of best business model for them to run with?
I think it's a good model. I think it's a good place to start. It's low cost. The capital's cost is low.
Yeah.
You need to find obviously a little corner, and there's plenty of little corners out there to make a nice little business which earns a couple of grand or 10 grand a month. Plenty exist out there, heaps.
Yeah.
I think the skills you learn from affiliate marketing are, like you said, traffic generation, conversion rate optimization. I think they're great skills, and building a website, obviously. The one thing, if I was going to start a business today, but
yeah,
I don't know if that's interesting, but I would focus on. I have some sort of areas. I don't know if that's interesting.
Yeah,
Frankie,
go for it. Go for it. I'm interested personally, so everyone else will be interested. Trust me.
Well, I would focus on the play to earn crypto space. I think play to earn is going to be absolutely massive.
Fuck, you're getting me excited. Mate, I fucking love this. I was holding off on the crypto talk but we're in. We've done it.
Right.
We're in. Let's go.
Well,
Let's go.
Play to earn, with Axie Infinity and Star Atlas and Illuvium, Plants vs. Undead, all these new games coming out.
Yeah.
Ooh, wow. We're about to see an absolute new market and new revolution where NFTs aren't just, pieces of art. They're also things you can use to leverage to make a return and a yield.
Yeah.
And
so
if I was a young entrepreneur right now, I would get head first as fast and as deep as possibly could into that right away. I would just get in.
This is what excited me about having you on the podcast, right? Because I've got quite a few NFTs myself, but I've got two World of Women. You've heard of World of Women, yeah? World of Women NFTs?
I've not.
Oh well, I think like Logan Paul has one, Gary Vaynerchuk has some, and like all the people are buying them. They bought them after I'd bought them, so that's all right.
That's good.
It sent the floor price up. But anyway, the one of the things you talked about there was the fact that you can generate revenue from inside the smart contract, and on this you get like obviously the rarities of all these NFTs, don't you? And I've got one that's in like the top 1,000 rarity of this 10,000 women collection thing, and because of its rarity and because of its fact it's got this certain set of earrings and certain necklace, it allows me to earn a 5% clip of all the resales of all the it allows me not me personally 5%, but the group of 50 NFTs that have access to that rarity detail. It allows us to have a 5% clip of all the resale value on OpenSea. So what I'm trying to explain to the audience here is the fact that because I've got this one NFT that may have cost me like 2.5, 3 Ethereum or whatever it cost me, it's earning me revenue that's getting sent to my wallet every month from me having it. So I've got the capital uplift in hopefully that the value of the art goes up due to its rarity, and you get paid, and that's what you're talking about, isn't it? From the NFT space, is that kind of play.
It's part of it, and I think the other part that I'm really bullish on is this. So that's obviously a key place. Things like Zed Run as well, owning horses, racing them. You've got, as I said, Axie Infinity. I think with Axies, and there's such a fascinating meta world that's being grown there, and all the guilds and things like that. I think Star Atlas is going to be absolutely insane. I think it's going to be the biggest game we've ever seen on our planet, on the Earth.
Star
Atlas will be the biggest game we've ever experienced ever. Bigger than World of Warcraft. It's going to be the biggest because people basically go and fight, and they're going to fight and to make money.
Yes.
Like if you're gaming to make money, just think for a second what that means.
honestly, crypto gaming is. I honestly believe it's one of the biggest spaces in crypto. That's going because because even when you remember Farmville on Facebook, right?
Yep.
There was no money involved in Farmville, but there was people at the time, this is 10 years ago, that were paying money to buy this and that and the other anyway. So it's already a proven model and concept that in crypto that people are going to pay to play and bet money and all sorts of. It's already proven because they've already been doing it for years anyway.
I agree. And I think DeFi is great as well. Don't get me wrong. I think DeFi is an amazing product, and I think we're building Finder Earn into the Finder app, so you'll be able to earn 4% interest on your money, which will be great. We're launching that in October. But that's I think this NFT space is the one that's sort of growing. If I was a young entrepreneur, I'd get headfirst into that. I also think that this is the dawning of the metaverse.
Yes, buying land. Yes.
100%.
Fuck, this excites
me. You can go to places now, even in Australia, and get your entire body. You put one of those suits on, and you get 3D scanned about how you move, and they scan your entire body, and you can take that avatar and put it into the games now.
That's crazy.
Like you go into the game.
So right, let's just reel it back so that people can understand. Because me and you have gone in way deep, way too quick. It's like a Tinder date that was. Right, just bringing it back, right? Let's just break it down for the audience how you got into the crypto space. Because obviously you'd made all this money from Finder. I presume you probably needed a place to park cash where it wasn't losing value in fiat money. Is that kind of how you found crypto? Or how
I think it's part of it, I think, but more so I was fascinated by, this confluence of finance, marketing, and technology. And those are three things which I love.
Yeah.
And then now you're adding gaming, to finance, marketing, and technology. I love to game. I started building websites because I learned how networks worked. And then I actually built a guild in Age of Empires. Which is an old game. Any gamer out there knows.
I actually played Age of Empires when I was a kid.
There we go.
You know what I mean, like you used to upgrade the walls around your thing, around your town. You started off with this wooden shack, and then their knights would roll in and smash your village up.
Yeah. So imagine someone. I discovered this thing, and I realized. It made me go and get more and more interested, and I've just never stopped. And I just continue to learn more and more about it. I think, making investments in the space, I think, comes naturally. It's a very markets-driven business. In 2017, we started writing about Bitcoin and Ethereum on Finder. From there, we've made, huge amounts of content, and we publish it into 50 different countries, and teaching people about coins, teaching people about exchanges. It's just a massive business for us now.
Do you get paid any affiliate money in crypto?
Yep, 100%. We're very comfortable with holding Bitcoin as part of our treasury. It's just normal.
So are you one of the only companies in Australia then at this moment in time that's holding crypto on their balance sheet?
I don't know.
Because I was speaking to Toby, who owns who just sold out Sweat.com, and I've been on him for months and months and months. Like, you've got to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum. Not only put it on the balance sheet of the business, but have a personal allocation. And he said to me the other day, he's just going to allocate 0.5%.
There we go.
Not half of 1%. I'm like, mate, it's a start, but once you get involved, you're just going to want to put more and more into it because you can't. I put like everything that I have into it because you can't store cash in the bank. It's just pointless. You're just getting absolutely annihilated. But
and I think that's important, right? So for everyone to understand that, we're in a low yield environment where banks don't pay any interest to you anymore.
Yeah,
and your money's essentially getting inflated away. I reject what the RBA says about inflation. It's not 2%; it's like 15%.
And the rest.
Yeah, like how much does you think? You look around you and don't think of the things that they measure. Think of the things that you purchase on a regular basis. How much have they just gone up in value in price over the last even 12 months. Like, you know, the most simple one is how much do we comfortably pay for a latte right now? Like $5? You pay $5. $5. Just think for a second. What happened there?
I've seen loaves of bread in Woolworths. That some loaves of bread going for $8.50 for a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
Now, if you're looking at a loaf of bread for $8.50 and you're telling me that inflation doesn't exist, inflation is the biggest tax on all your money that you'll ever have in your entire life. Like tax is an issue that you have to minimize, but inflation is the killer because you don't even realize you're getting
silent.
Because you can have $1 million sat in the bank, and every day that you have it sat in the bank, it's buying you less and less and less and less and less. So you still have $1 million, but it doesn't buy you anything.
That's right, 100%.
It's just, but not many people are educated on this. They don't teach this at school. You know, it's only when I have people like yourself come on and you're like, look, I've got $1 billion company, and this is the truth. Like, so it's like if I tell them. Now you're telling them, it's like you got to look into it. You got to look. There's too many people saving money. Saving money is pointless.
Well, it's good to save money, but then the key is then to invest the money.
Yeah. Yes.
You must invest and then make money from your money to stave off the inflation wolves. The key thing I think, which here's a word I think your audience will enjoy, if they went and Googled the word seigniorage. Seigniorage is a French word actually.
Right.
And it is essentially it's the deflating of any particular currency.
Right.
And it's been happening since for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Like not just this is not a recent occurrence. This is like the Romans used to have a gold coin, right? And the gold coin had it was made of gold. And at the end of the Roman Empire, that gold coin only actually had 2% gold.
Yes.
The rest was like lead.
And also, the original gold coins that the Romans minted, every time someone would have the gold coins, they'd clip little bits off the side of the gold coins.
Snip them.
Snip the sides off, and then on-sell them. And then by the time they've been in the ether for quite a while, you know, there's the person who's got these coins has got less gold than the other person. The other person's just melted down all the gold that they've clipped off over the years. And
so essentially, if you want to exit the financial system that we live in, we think is normal, there is another alternative. There's a new financial system that's brewing, and it's very strong. In fact, if you look at the most recent change of Bitcoin, right? So we were trading at $64,000. It dropped down to $28,000. No one got a payout because it dropped. No government had to go and put their hands in their pocket, which means the people are actually putting their hands in their pocket because the government is made up of the people.
Yeah. And
no one had to go and bail out the crypto people. It just carried on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas that didn't happen in 2008. There was many billions of dollars that were handed out to reboot the financial system.
It's even like I was reading an article about the amount of money that companies that didn't need bailing out during this COVID crisis, and they've took all this money and they don't have to pay it back, which is fine. And I understand it from the business's point of view. I mean, you can't. Some of them didn't know, but some of them have had their best time ever, and they're not even going to have to give this money back. But they've just had all this money come into their business, which they can then obviously to spend to outgrow their everyone else in the space. So it's like. The issue isn't the companies getting the money. The issue for me is the government is printing that money, which deflates your money. That's my issue with it, not the fact that the companies have had the money. Like it's just, and it's happening every single day. Like that printer's just rolling out notes. I
think right now the RBA just put a statement out. They're printing $4 billion. I think it's a week right now.
$4 billion in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous, isn't it? When you think about the site, there's 26 million people here, and they're printing 4 billion a week.
Mm-hmm. GDP size of Australia is 1.4 trillion.
It doesn't even bear thinking about where we're headed to, does it? You have to have
something's going to happen. That's for sure. You can't keep going. It doesn't work.
What do you foresee happening from what you're looking at?
Well, I think they will move to a place essentially where cash is almost printed by the government, and it's when you pay your taxes, they literally just take the money and burn it.
Yep.
It's just a reduction of inflation. That's all it is. It's not. They're not even using it because they're just printing so much money. They've just gotten to a place where they have to just continuously print money.
Yeah.
And it's just a balancing act of inflation essentially to keep it under control. And they will never let the asset prices go down because they'll just keep pumping up the stock market so that everyone just keeps putting more money basically out of the system. They take the money out of the system and pump it into investments, which keeps everyone making more money, and so the system carries on. But eventually, they'll get to a place where it's going to be very, very unusual what the government does with currency. Although that seems farcical, but it's not. The other thing that's going to happen is they'll print a new currency, so they'll call it Money 2.0, and they'll start the machine again and reboot it.
I believe that machine starts again when they move into the digital dollars. I believe that's when the machine starts again. So if you study the history of currencies, none of them last beyond, I think it's like 100 years or 100 and something years before they've inflated them so much that they have to fail. Like it's just when you study currencies, that's just a fact. So what I personally believe was the fact that we're near that point now, or getting real close to it within like 10 years, and I think that's why when the digital dollar reset comes in, I think that's when the numbers will be adjusted, and then we'll all think that it's just gone from one to the other. But really, there's been a lot lost in the movement of that from physical currency that you can see to digital dollars. That's where they'll lose it, 100%. That's the only place they can. That's the only place they can lose it.
There's definitely going to be something. Something's going to go down. That's for sure.
Something's got to go down.
We're going towards something, and I think cryptocurrency is an exit of that system. It's a store of value.
Yeah,
it's a place you can store your money.
So in regards to like your personal thing, are you just all in on Bitcoin, or do you have Ethereum, or what's kind of how have you stacked it out in terms of like your long-term hold?
I always am buying Bitcoin all the time. I've started to relook at Ethereum since its recent changes about becoming deflationary. I find it quite interesting.
Yeah.
I'm very fascinated by Solana and also Terra Luna. I'm very bullish on Terra Luna. I think Terra Luna, the reasons for it is that so Luna backs up the UST stablecoin, which is an algorithmic coin.
Yeah.
Now, what I think is going to happen is I think regulation in America and in Europe is going to crack down hard on stablecoins that are centralized.
Yeah.
And so algorithmic stablecoins will become more of a sought after thing. And Luna backs that up. So I think and basically the more UST that's bought, the more Luna gets burnt. And so the price of it just goes up. And I think, the guys behind it in Luna and Terra's case are just incredible. They make it so simple to operate and run, and they've got synthetic stocks on there. It's a beautiful ecosystem. I feel like almost Terra could be the Apple of crypto. They make it that simple and easy to use. I think that's why I'm bullish. There's $63 billion of USDT. If regulation comes in and cracks down on it, then I think algorithmic stablecoins will become a main feature of crypto. And I think UST is at like 2 billion. So even if it goes to 10, there's going to be a lot of Luna that gets burned.
Yeah.
And that's bullish for Luna in my mind. This is not financial advice, by the way. This is just my opinion.
Obviously, like what me and Fred are talking about, we're just two guys having a conversation here between us, right? You're listening in to our conversation. So none of what we say on here is financial advice. Yep. So you don't need to drop me an email saying you've made 3.5 million off this and lost 1.2 million on that, because we don't need to hear it. Do you know what I mean? No one's telling you to go out and buy shit. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, I am not advising you to make any investment decisions.
Yeah. But
and I may hold positions in these coins as well, but that's because I have conviction. It's my personal view. This is just my personal view.
Yeah, I like it.
I think Solana is fascinating. I think because of its leverage to Star Atlas. And Star Atlas, being on Solana, I think is a big deal. And I think it's fast, it's cheap, and I think those guys are smart. I like what they're doing. I think that Luna will be, or Terra will be the stablecoin provider of Solana, which I think is a really key feature. They've got a good partnership there. Those two things working together, I think, are a powerhouse.
Yeah.
I think there are all sorts of other things going on, but these are just, it's almost too hard to be across everything. I just love DeFi and stablecoins and those kind of things in that ecosystem. And so I'm bullish on those two.
Do you look into like yield farming and stuff like that, where it's all moving around all the time and you kind of clip in yields off that kind of stuff? Is there any?
100%. I love yield farming. I think it's brilliant. I think this is a way you can stave off inflation, right, and not take too much risk. You can just sort of preserve your capital, which is quite nice, and it keeps the wheels turning. I think it's also a great way to turn your part of your crypto into something which can provide a passive income.
Yeah,
I think that's important, right? I think it's very important. It's a rental, like when you buy a piece of property and you rent it out. I think it's the same kind of thing. And a lot of people dismiss crypto because of that, but I just completely decline any of those arguments. I think I had a big argument with Shane Oliver from AMP on ABC. Yeah. And you can look at that video where, I think some of the arguments about crypto and where it's at, which is great. They're probably not coming to that side of the table today, which is fine and awesome for us that are lent in and can see the future. It's like, it was very hard for the newspapers to really lean into the internet.
Yeah.
And I totally understand that, because it disrupts their entire worldview of the system. Because that system served them really well.
Well, it's like even when you look at previous news, there was people saying that like the internet's no bigger than the fax machine. You know what I mean? Like, and all these kind of dumb statements in the past, and they're the same dumb statements that they're saying about the crypto space. Crypto is here to stay. It will be regulated in certain areas and not in others. There will be regulation. As soon as they bring more regulation to the top end of it, it will actually become even more investable for people anyway. So it's like it's not going anywhere, is it? I read a lot about internet computer protocol and what they're doing. And trying to like do the Amazon web services of crypto type thing that they're trying to put together. I don't fully understand it because it's a lot to understand, but all about the nodes and stuff. But just the audacity of having the idea to do it on the blockchain is fascinating to me.
I agree, and I think it's just nascent. It's new, and that's natural. Humans were scared of electricity in the beginning. They thought it was the devil in the wall. Humans were scared of lifts. No one caught a lift in the past. They all caught the stairs. I thought that's how you die. Which was actually kind of logical in the beginning because there weren't many brakes. But then Mr. Otis invented the brakes for the lift, and that's why the Otis is such a powerful lift company. There were all sorts of fears. There were monsters and hydras and dragons in far off lands before people could, traverse to them. That's natural. It's natural to not understand something new and or unknown. And actually that's served humanity well because it keeps us diligent and protected in terms of our ability to survive. And we were, 10th in the queue when it came to the ladder of the planet. The lions ate first and then the wolves and then the hyenas, and then the humans would literally be sort of 10th in the list to come along and eat the carcass at the end. And these kind of ideas that we've evolved through have served us. But now, unfortunately, we haven't kept pace. Our evolution is a little slow. And there are humans that I think that are evolving, and they, you get all these different variables, and then they tend to do really well in our society. And that's just a natural course of where we're at. But, we did really well with that kind of protectionism and some of the heuristics that are programmed in and cognitive biases, because it allowed us to become, we put the lions and the tigers now in cages. And, that's wild if you think about it.
Yeah, on the evolution standpoint, 100% is wild because, like you say, we couldn't even fight them off back in the day. And now look where we are. I think people have just got to look outside the box in terms of the way that they invest their money to protect it from, because if you read anything by Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger, even though they don't seem too bullish on the crypto space at this moment in time, one of their rules is don't lose money, right? So if you're sat in a bank right now, you're losing money. Simple as that. So even yes, save it, but store the value in something that you can also get. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't save money. I save money myself, but I save money into Bitcoin, into Ethereum, into Cardano, into an ecosystem that allows me. I can pull it out at any time real quick and use it, and it's pliable, and I can pay for a whole manner of things in Bitcoin and Ethereum already. But I don't leave it in as an Australian dollar or a US dollar, because to me it's pointless. That's kind of how I want people to look at it. Right? Let's go deep into these games now, because now we've covered that. It's like, talk to me more about these games, because I want to understand it more. Because I'll be totally honest with you, I'm aware of how big the space is going to be, but I can see that you're an avid gamer and that you're really deep in this, Fred. So I want you to really like open my mind up to the games in the space that are going to really move the needle and why they're going to move the needle.
Well, what you've got is a ecosystem where people with a lot of time can trade their time to play a game or do an action, whatever it may be, for money, which is crypto.
Yeah.
And on the other side, you've got an ecosystem where you have, a marketplace of these assets that they use and play, and people are coming in and investing in those, and they're buying essentially the coin that these other people are earning. So they're earning that coin, selling it, and then the investors on the other side who are investing in the assets are buying that coin from them. Yeah, and so you've got a natural stasis, of that. There is still currently a bit too much supply coming in, and that I think will change for some of these games. But if you look at the meta sense of what's happening here, you've got a whole new dynamic, a whole new ecosystem. And just to give context, Axie Infinity, I think, printed 200 mil rev last month.
Yeah.
200 million US dollars. Just for a second, consider that sheer value transaction, right? Yeah. That's their cut. Then all the other people making money as well throughout that entire experience. Now, I think there are other games starting up. There are other things. And what you've got, as I said, is the beginning of the metaverse. So let's say you're playing this game, right?
Yeah.
And you've got a spaceship in one quadrant of the game, and you need to take your spaceship over to another place, and you need to drive safely, and you actually have to sit there and drive it. Like, someone has to drive it, navigate it, and like it's in the game, it's in the blockchain. It is exactly where it is. It's recorded, and so you would hire a team to go and do that.
You have to pay that team money.
Yeah, and then you got to pay that team money, and what would you pay them in? Well, you pay them in the currency of the game. And so now you've got an economy starting up inside a virtual world, which has a lot of value inside it as well, right? So the economics of that and like they need to be obviously more teased out, and there's more to it over time, because a lot of it is a little leakage, right now.
Yeah.
Although it's being worked on, right?
Yeah.
But nothing's perfect. Just like, Bitcoin transaction fees sometimes get really high, but it doesn't stop the system carrying on.
Yeah.
But if you needed to move your spaceship from one quadrant to another, would you want to sit there? Probably not. You'd probably go and hire someone.
Yeah.
If you need to go and, fight some planet because you want to take it over, because you want their resources, because it is what it is, you could go and hire an army. And now you go and fight that planet and take that planet over. And suddenly now you're earning the income of that planet, and the reason why you went and did that is because you wanted to earn the income.
And people, some of the people listening to this will be listening to it thinking dubiously, but just to put what Fred said into context is the fact that I know how many billionaires that have been made out of crypto, and these boys are cashed up.
Yeah,
they're only getting richer, and they've got time on their hands, and they're avid gamers. Yep. And it's because of these people that these ecosystems will be built, and they will scale, and they will go through all of gaming, because these boys have got time, they've got money, and when you put money like that in a space like that, it's just infinite opportunities of what you can do. And you don't have to be an avid gamer yourself to invest in these platforms to be able to earn some clip of what they're doing. I mean, Axie Infinity, I think what is that a coin right now?
So Axie is about $69, but an Axie itself, so to get in the game and play the game, it's about $600 US. to get 3 axes and start fighting, and then you earn. I was playing last night just for fun. I was earning 6 SLP, so say 32 cents a win. It's not a lot, but it all adds up.
And
right?
is the actual gameplay like phenomenal too?
The gameplay is very simple, but it's very strategic.
Right.
And it's to get to the top. So if you're in the top of the leaderboard, in a particular season, you'll earn. I think the top player gets 225 axi, which is let's say roughly 10 grand, 10, 12 grand. So they're that's each
serious money. Like how many hours is that? How many hours is that game played over? Just so people have a context.
So I think people play about 3 hours a day right now. That's sort of what they're doing to earn their income. And then as you get higher and higher up the leaderboard, you earn more. So, certain people are probably making, 300, 400 SLP a day for playing a game. But like for genuinely just playing a game. Like that's what's...
And here's what I see happening though in this space. I see rich crypto billionaires building teams of these gamers and paying them fees, plus these players getting sponsorships and all this kind of stuff. I'm just seeing it, right?
Yep.
And I'm seeing there being business opportunities in the space of like being the agency that hooks up the gamers with being the middleman that puts the gamer with the crypto billionaire.
Yep.
Being the advertiser that puts advertising on the billboards next to the fighting arena where they're fighting, where there's hundreds of millions of people watching this fight online. Yep. It's like there's so much opportunity. Like, I thought of this the other day. Like, how much is digital advertising in the metaverse going to be worth?
Oh,
do you know what I mean? I'm serious, Fred. Like, that blows my mind. Like, because and people will be listening to this in their car to work, thinking, "Frankie, you're smoking crack." But like, I'm serious. Like, there's so many business models that fit into this metaverse. Every business model that you can think of that lives on the planet can be fitted into the metaverse in terms of like sponsorship, affiliate deals, advertising, management rights, IP rights, all this kind of stuff. Like, it's just. I'm thinking about these NFTs that I've got. I may be able to rent them to a gallery in the metaverse to display them at some point in time.
100%. You definitely will.
Because I'm thinking there's only 10,000 of them, and if someone likes my artwork, I've got the IP rights on the artwork, so they're going to have to pay me a yield to put it in their gallery in their planet on the metaverse. Mm-hmm. Now, if that doesn't blow your mind and interest you in how you can open your mind up to these investment opportunities that are on the table to you, I don't know what will. Like, I really don't. Like, because what Fred's just said there is just blew my mind. Like,
let me give you another level. So the current ships that just ICO'd basically for Star Atlas, they were $32,000 US. The next round of ships is between say 50 to 100,000 US, and the final ships will be auctioned, and they are estimated to go for between $1 to $10 million.
What, for a spaceship?
Yeah.
So, have you got a spaceship then? Have you bought one?
I don't have a spaceship yet, but I'm going to buy one. I'm going to buy a lot of spaceships.
Yeah.
But these kind of massive spaceships are like ones you deploy to protect an entire planet. They're like huge spaceships that have, thousands of people on them and other whole series of other ships. They're like, but you need that in the galaxy, right? If you're fighting a massive war to go and find a diamond somewhere the size of a planet.
Mate, this blows my mind. It blows my mind. I know people are going to be listening to this, like, just their mind's going to be blown with this. This is unbelievable, mate. Unbelievable. Like, I didn't even think about these spaceships being that much money already. Like, if you can pick one up for 32 grand, you could probably flip that spaceship inside.
Oh yeah, they're already trading. They're like 36, 37,000 already.
Are they traded as an NFT on a smart contract?
Yes.
So you can buy them on OpenSea, is what you're saying?
No, they have their own DEX on Solana.
So the cheaper fees, because obviously, like, trade, like, what kind of annihilates you on Ethereum, guys, is the fact that the gas fees get astronomical. That's why Ethereum probably isn't going to be the place where a lot of these NFTs and these kind of contracts that Fred's talking about is going to live, because it's be too expensive to transact.
Yeah, Ethereum's pretty pricey, but those things are all changing, and I think this will happen on a very fast blockchain and a very cheap blockchain chain, and it's you're going to hear more and more about this, but you heard it first here, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone else is talking about this stuff. Not many people are.
Are you talking about this on many podcasts yourself? Or is this the first one?
No, I haven't spoken about this on any podcast.
No, you can see how much this stuff lights me up, can't you? Mate, I think it's a fascinating space, and you can go down so many number of rabbit holes on this. I mean, I don't know what your advice is to the audience, but I suppose just pick what interests you, like obviously, and just go down that rabbit hole. I mean, I like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, and I could go into all these different altcoins, like you say, into like the Solanos and all this kind of stuff. But currencies don't light me up as much as, you know, figuring out art or trying to figure out this gaming space. Even though I don't want to play the games, what I'm interested in is like, can I buy a spaceship here for $32,000 and flip it here for $600,000?
Yeah,
that's what interests me about this whole space. And like you just blow my mind, because I didn't realize you could mint these and get these spaceships. Just on this, what do you envisage one of those spaceships being worth that started at 32 grand in your estimation?
Well, there's only a limited number, and if you want to have a spaceship, you need a spaceship. So I can't see how. Maybe the game will make more. Maybe. I don't think so, but I think that's not how NFTs work.
Yeah.
And I think in the beginning with this game, having a spaceship probably will be an advantage, because you'll want to go to planets and you want to go and do things there.
And you want to take these crypto billionaires will want to take over other people's planets. And if you've got
100%,
if you've got crypto billionaire worth $2 billion, and then you got one that's worth $1 billion, but the one that's got $1 billion has got the biggest spaceship and he just took over your planet, it's kind of a bit of a flex in the crypto world to be able to go.
Well, it's not only that's the difference here is it's not even a flex, but it'll print you money.
Yeah,
and then you'll use that money to go and hire more armies.
And here's another thing that people probably aren't seeing, right? That you've probably cottoned onto as well. If you've got a spaceship in this metaverse and there's a limited number of spaceships, that means that when people want to get their army from one planet to another, but they don't have the spaceship, but they have the cash, you can charge fees to put their army on your spaceship to take them to another planet that they've never been to. So you could actually make cash from being a taxi in the metaverse.
100%. And the people will write scripts to go and do it as well. It's going to be next level. Like, I can't even.
Honestly, Fred, today you've blown my fucking mind already. Honestly, mate. Honestly, I thought we were just going to talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano. But what do you see the future for Cardano being like as a coin with the smart contracts and everything that's going on that? Because obviously we're at a pivotal point now of Cardano. At the time we're recording this podcast, obviously it's just about to release its smart contract system.
I think that. So I don't have as strong a view, and I've never really gone as deep into Cardano, but I feel like it was an idea back when Ethereum was kind of struggling, and with fees and scalability and those kind of things. And I think since that time, Solana's come out, and I don't know, being, how can I say this? I feel like they're solving a problem which other blockchains have kind of solved already, and it's already live. And so I feel like, how can I say this? I'd sell the rumor, not the news.
Yeah.
Because I think once it goes live, sure, it goes live and cool, but I'm just not as bullish on. I feel like that race is already run.
Yeah, I kind of feel as of today, and this can change, but I kind of feel today for me, similar to what you're saying. I kind of, there's a lot of profit in it for me at this moment in time. So I'm thinking I flick that off. I put half the profit, half of it in, not all of it. I'll still keep some Cardano just in case it does blow up. I can keep a few thousand, but I'm thinking to myself on a personal level, I flick off a substantial amount, put half that money into Solana or something, another chain like that, to back it for the next 5 years, because I only invest if I'm thinking about 5 years, and then take some profits and look into some other crypto gaming spaces and go again.
Yeah, and consider putting it into some yield and just earn some yield, and then the yield that you earn, you can just punt.
Yeah. So if
you can just punt into whatever coin you want.
This is a question for you, because obviously you've been in the game a lot longer than me. I've only been in this for last year and a half. But with obviously the Bitcoin and Ethereum and the Cardano, from what I started with to what I have now is a whole world of difference, right? But would it be advantageous for someone like myself to get rid of all that, get it into USDT and put the USDT in a yield? Because you can get 15% on the yield of the USDT, couldn't you? And you can just spin a lot of cash flow off the USDT, or what are you saying? Are you saying put the actual coins into a yield? I think
you definitely want to get yield on your coins, but I think there's nothing wrong with taking a bit off the table. If something's run a lot and you've got a really good profit, take some of the profit and bank it.
Yeah.
And just earn a yield off the back of that, and then you can take that yield that you're earning and go and put it into something really risky, even more risky.
Yeah.
Because you don't really care as much, because you basically, you cover your inflation costs, but then you can also punt it on whatever you want. I think there is a place for yield, backing up, and keeping things solid in your portfolio. And then this comes back to sort of, it is kind of Warren Buffett, really. He always looked at bonds versus stocks, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you think of it like if your stocks run really hard,
yeah,
and you have you set an idea that you want 70% in stocks and 30% in bonds.
Yeah.
Well, if it runs up to 90, you should just, if you sell that down and just take all bonds.
Yeah.
When those coins that you do have pull back, well, then you could go and take that money you learned from the bonds, reload up, the yield, the stablecoin yields, reload up on those cryptos when they're really low, and you run the next run up. And that's how these, you use these weighing sort of up and down percentages, and that's how big fortunes get made. Big fortunes.
See, I've been through a massive drop now. I've been through a few little pullbacks, and I've been through a massive drop. And even when it dropped all that way, I was still up, but I just lost mass amount of money, on paper, if I'd sold. And I thought to myself then, I've just taught myself a big lesson there about taking profits when profits are available to take, because so many of us that start in this space, on that first one, we have to get our ass kicked before we see it.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of have to set yourself up to say, okay, well, if you've got X amount of Bitcoin and you've got more than one, maybe just keep one Bitcoin. You let that thing run, and then keep X amount of Ethereum, X amount of Cardano, X amount of it, but just take the profits off the rest and have the rest as USD. When you're talking about generating a yield on a stable coin, what stable coin would you personally put it in? Would you put it in USDC or USDT?
I like UST. That's the Luna one, because it's algorithmic. And I think there's less government threat, because it's very hard to shut down an algorithmic stablecoin.
Right. Okay.
I think centralization is going to get a lot of pressure from the US government.
Right.
It already is getting a lot of pressure, but I think it'll get even more.
Yeah. So UST is the Luna stablecoin.
Yeah, I think see that's the way I look at it, is you got a centralized coin versus a non-centralized coin. And I think a non-centralized coin in the future will become more and more valuable. You look at Frax, for example. I think that they finally sort of stabilized. But UST and the ecosystem they're building around that in Luna it's well worth a look. Well worth a look to go have a look at Terra and all the things. Columbus 5 is the latest update coming out in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
And it is going to change the game. It is. Yeah. It's going to enhance the interaction between Solana and Terra.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal, right? You've got two massive chains coming together. And here's a bit of alpha for you. Have a look at the Solana website. They've got a Terra page already.
Yeah.
Already built on their site. So they're already planning to talk to each other. They're friends.
Yeah. Now, so are you saying then that the stable coin could go up in value as it's decentralized?
Well, I think it'll become more reliable. Like, you're talking about the risk of a stable coin unpegging, right?
Yeah.
I think it'll become more and more reliable because, let's say USDC, for example, gets shut down by the US government for whatever reason.
Yeah.
They're unhappy about it. They think it's too much of a risk to, I don't know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? They can come up with something. That puts a lot of risk in terms of you holding that coin and its value in that stability, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm saying UST is another alternative. It's another algorithmic coin, but I'm saying the underlying underpinning of that coin is Luna.
Yeah.
And so for every UST that gets printed, some Luna gets burnt, and so it's actually a fascinating way of looking at it. But purely, I think. What I think is instructive and what's important here is this is my view. A lot of people are like all in crypto, don't worry about yield, all out. And people who do really well from that as well.
Yeah.
That's just not my approach.
Yeah.
My approach is more of a value over time, yield plus coins, and I just sort of, as things move up, I just sort of stack my yield, and then when they drop, I up my coins.
Yeah, see, I've got coins, but I've got them in things like BlockFi. But BlockFi, it used to be really good when it was actually paying 4% on all your Bitcoin. But now when you read the terms, it's like 1.5% on this amount of Bitcoin, and then it's like 4% on like 0.02 of a Bitcoin, and then it's like 1.5% of the rest. So I'm getting smacked down the road. Plus, I'm in a position where if this thing folds, I've lost my coins, right? So that's why I'm so interested in your approach, because what you're saying is a hell of a lot better than what I'm doing right now. Because you're saying you keep a certain amount of coins on your cold storage and this, that, and the other, and do all that, but then you've got yields coming from these stable coins over here, which gives you the income. And I think learning to turn crypto into an income producing asset is the game changer.
Yeah.
So just you explaining that to me has just gone like, okay, I get it now. That's what I got. That's the way I got to move. I got to take some of these profits off the table, put them into these stable coins that generate revenue on a month-by-month basis, rather than just getting a yield off the actual coins at a smaller clip.
Yeah.
What kind of rates can you get on UST at this moment in time?
Oh, you can get from 3% to 200%. Depends on the venue you're at, the risk you're willing to take. Do you want to leverage up? There's all sorts of places and ways to make serious yield. And
there's I've seen with the rise of platforms like Unimex and stuff like that there's a lot of these platforms now that are coming out where people trade on, like on the blockchain as well, like, and that's a real fascinating space. Another space that fascinated me was putting properties on the blockchain and being able to buy. So like your house in Sydney is like, it's an $18 million house. You're not every one of us can afford an $18 million house. Obviously we've got to, but you could put your house on a blockchain and sell little pieces of the house, so they could take part in the uplift of the value of the house. They could take part. They could buy access to the house for like 1 week or 1 day a year, and all that kind of stuff. Is that something you've looked into? Not for your house specifically, but in terms of like the application of that.
Yeah, I haven't, but I know it's possible. It's just not my space.
Yeah.
I'm very focused on the DeFi space and on the play to earn space. They're my two spaces I'm really deeply in. Yeah, there's just too much to do in crypto.
There's just so much. So like, are you massively into like the Uniswaps of the world?
I don't like Ethereum in terms of with DeFi. I think the fees take up all your yield. So I think it's a great service. I don't see it as my primary place because I find the fees really hard to deal with.
What's the biggest lookouts on the DeFi from your?
I think have a look at Binance Chain. I think there's some really nice yields there. Alpaca Finance. I think have a look at Terra. Get involved with it.
Yeah.
Get some Luna. Get amongst it. It is an incredible. Once you sort of figure it, unpack it. It's amazing. Have a look at Solana. and some of the venues there, they're paying some good fees right now. There's things like convex finance, I think is interesting, which is a build upon Curve. And then, the Matic network does have some good yields as well, with Polygon, and there's, Polycat Finance is really solid. Those guys are legit. That's just the beginning, and then you can go, all the way down the rabbit hole from there.
Mate, it's going to be about 3 weeks from recording to me putting this podcast out, because I've got a couple of others backed up. I'm going to watch this 6 times just to note down everything, man. I'm just going to go in. I'm going to go in deep in this, because you've just blown my mind. On that note, I want to talk about your book, because I'm just showing it on the screen now, guys. Go Live. Great book. I've got to page 85. It is real good. It is a real good read. I want to talk about this, but Fred is actually in this book. He gives away a few $1,000s worth of Bitcoin to certain codes that you find within the book as well. So if you're new into crypto and you wanna potentially spend the $15 or $20 or whatever the book is, go to Booktopia. I'll put a link in the bio. Go there, buy the book, read the book, learn some top shit, and some ways to structure yourself, and the ways that you can obviously open your mind so you can set up a cash flow business and all that stuff. And then you might win some Bitcoin off Fred. He'll transfer you a little bit of Bitcoin. That's your start into crypto. Thank you, Frankie. Yeah, I know. But let's talk about this. What inspired you to even write a book? I mean, it's not like you need to write a book, is it? Like you've done enough, but what kind of led you down writing a book path?
I think I wanted to share some of my knowledge, and I think sharing is really key. And I feel like I've learned a lot of things from a lot of hard lessons, and I thought, hey, here's a way to give back. And these are my stories, by the way, and it's my approach. So I'm not saying I'm like the canonical answer to building your business, but I have an approach, and I do have some principles. And I thought, hey, here's a way to give back in some way and share all that stuff, that hardship I've gone through, and hopefully from reading this, people get inspired and create something.
I love the thing I love about your book, Fred, is that it's so, I read a lot of books, but the thing about your book is it's so easy to read and digest, and it's nicely broken down so that anybody can consume it. And it's important. There's a lot of books out there. Like if I was going to recommend a book, I wouldn't recommend Principles by Ray Dalio because Principles by Ray Dalio, which you're instilling your principles into the world, but Principles by Ray Dalio, unless you're an avid reader, you're going to give up after chapter 1 because it's just too complicated and it's too articulate and it's too over complex set of frameworks to follow. This book here, Go Live, it really allows you to suck up the information. I mean, I read to page 85 and I sat there for a few hours and read to page 85 and I was like, oh fucking hell, that's powerful, I gotta take that away. It's just that's the kind of book that we're talking about here, guys. You can actually go and learn and implement rather than just have to read the book and then go have to on Google and have to understand what the terminology is behind it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you have simplified it from my point of view, but it is powerful because because the way
it's hard to do that, but I think it's harder.
Yeah, 100%.
It's much easier to go and long form explain, talk about all this stuff. Whereas what I always try and do is say something very succinctly with the least amount of words, and it directly so that everyone can understand. And what did Lincoln say? He said, "I'm sorry I wrote you such a long letter. If I had more time, I would have written a shorter one." And that's the way I thought about this book. It's like, take everything out that is, all the guff. I'm just going to give you the gold.
Yeah.
And because you don't have the time to sit here and listen to all this other stuff, I'm just going to give you just the gold.
Yeah,
and just read that and install that into your mind, and you'll be better.
Yeah, one of the most confronting parts of the book for me, like I told you before the podcast, was this contract. This notion that you read this chapter within the book. I can't remember the chapter's name. It's one of the first ones in the book, 1 or 2. You read the chapter and it's talking to you about committing to what you're doing, and then at the end you present them with a contract, and it's like, and then it makes you ask yourself the question. In my mind, this is what it came to me. It came to me as like, am I am I all in my business, or do I think I'm all in, but really I'm just playing it? And I thought to myself, do you know what? I need to go harder at this because I'll regret it if I don't. And that's what I learned. And I'm like, fucking hell, I've only read 30 pages. Do you know what I mean? And I've only read 30 pages, and Fred's like, he's just slapped me around the face 50 times. Like, do you know what I mean? And I think that's what what the audience will get out of the book. I mean, you just so that people have an understanding. I mean, that's my understanding of it. But like, just break down how you've broken down the chapters and the structure, and how it takes people from where they're at to where they're going.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it's around mindset, because really going live, that's what the book's about. It takes an unpacking, and there's a series of steps I think you can go through in order to overcome obstacles and deal with mindset and challenges and everything that. They're just the 10 things which are like essentially I hold to be true in my life. And if you read those 10 and digest them, and then when you come to that same circumstance, you remember the story. I always try to put a story in there as best I could of what happened when I did this. So when you come to that moment, I remember the story of Fred did this, and you remember that moment and you take that action. My hope is, at least 8 out of the 9 times, or 8 out of 10 times, you're going to do pretty well, because these are principles. These are things which I saw time and time again after making and taking on and investing my personal money and taking the mistakes and paying down the errors. And they were investments to me, but they were the outcomes that I got. And what I noticed when I reflected back, these are the things which I hold to be true in this world. And when you're building a business, when you're going live, when you need to put something which does not exist to starting to exist and start to grow and build that to go live. That is what you will learn from this book.
And I can second you on that, because it just simply makes you want to execute rather than talk about lots of stuff. There's too many people talking about it, and it's like before this podcast, I did a video on Instagram about this, Fred, because a lot of people come into my DMs and they ask me about starting a podcast and all this stuff, and I showed them my laptop sat on a stack of books rather than a laptop stand, and that's because I'd rather execute than worry about the laptop stand. And that's the kind of analogy I want to give to your book, is the fact that you're saying don't worry about the laptop stand. Just go live and figure it out along the way. Build the plane on the way down, assemble it whilst you're trying to fly it. Do you know what I mean? Because you might not even have a business idea that's valuable to the marketplace, so you don't want to go building all this crap around it, like you think you need logo, website, all this crap, when you can just go and test it and actually go and find customers.
I think, Frankie, if you want to also frame it another way, I think Warren Buffett said this. He said, "There's no value in predicting rain, but there is in building an ark."
Yeah, I like it. Fuck it out. You just summarised 5 minutes of me in 5 words. Fuck's sake. Fred, you just done me. You've done me. On my own podcast, you've done me. No, but it's brilliant. No, you're right. You're totally right, mate. It's as simple as that. It's like, it's all about.
I'll tell you another story.
Yeah, go on.
So I was at a party, and I was talking to this guy and his girlfriend, was saying, "Oh, that's the Finder guy." And I said, because I think he was a little bit angry, like that his girlfriend was talking to me, and I was like, "Hey, chill out, bro. We're just having a chat." And he goes, "Oh, you know what? I came up with this idea, back when I was in London 10 years ago about comparing credit cards, and but never quite got around to it." I said, "Yeah, that's interesting, man, because I came up with this idea to build computers with these tiny little apples on the back of them, but I just never fucking got around to it." Yeah,
I know. do you know? Yeah, 100%. Everyone tells you.
Sorry about the swear word there. It was used hopefully it was used in the correct moment in time.
100%. Like, you're right in what you're saying. Everyone says that they've had the idea. It's hundreds of people have the idea of having a podcast, having a successful podcast. But you have to go and physically fucking build a successful podcast. Yeah. And it starts, and it's all about the reps, and you've got to enjoy the rep. I fucking love this. having conversations with people like you about stuff that's interesting to both parties that we can both vibe off. That's what lights me up. So I'm going to do that. But it's like, this is rep 56 or whatever, and I'll still enjoy it at rep 172 because that's what I'm doing it for the right reasons as well. Like, it's people. That whole story was predicated on a dick swinging competition rather than the fundamentals of building a business. You know, what I'm saying? Like,
I'm like, I wasn't really. I just think, the trivial nature of going live and the work that's required in, you're the one who built the arc, as opposed to, you took the risk, you took the chance it maybe didn't rain.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
The difference between you having a $1 billion company and me or anyone else that doesn't have a $1 billion company at the moment is the fact that you backed yourself and you went through some hard times to do it. I've read up to the point in the book where you had that massive tax bill. Now, when you break that down, it's like that could have finished you, but it didn't. Because you thought differently and you got round it and you approached it and you generated more cash flow and all this stuff. I read the bit in the book where COVID hit. You started selling sanitizer on Finder because you wanted to find a way of generating revenue. All this kind of stuff's in the book, guys. So go and read the book. I'm not going to go through it all now, but it's just like the reason why Fred's had the success that he's had, and he's going to have more success. Even if you go back and listen to I want you to go back and listen to this podcast twice, because I think what Fred's said about the crypto space is so fucking powerful that you should listen to that twice and write down notes on what he's saying, where the world's going, because that is going to really impact your finances. Even though it's not giving it as financial advice, just go and look at the data for yourself. But it's like even that, it just blows your mind on the way that people like yourself think. You got to think so differently and so ahead of your time than what everyone else is doing. It's just powerful stuff. If there's one, if you had to check out the planet today, Fred, and there was just one piece of powerful advice before we leave this podcast that you've got to just drop on the world, you can't even leave them this book, mate. You can't. You just got to drop one piece of advice that hits people right between the eyeballs. What would it be?
I think if you wake up in the morning and you think about, just as you wake up, you imagine what it is you're thinking of doing during the day. And if you feel, I just don't really want to do that. And tomorrow's probably going to be the same, and then the next day, and you do this consistently for, let's call it 2-3 weeks, make a change.
Yeah.
Do something different. Do the thing you actually wanted to do when you were to wake up. Because you know what? You may as well figure it out over there. You may as well go on a journey. And even if that completely fails, you will have learned something that you can go and take to what you want to do next, where you will wake up and feel amazing. Like when I wake up in the morning, I'm sad I had to go to sleep, because I love what I do. I love creating stuff. I love to, imagine things and then bring them into this world and create that. That's what I love to do. I don't think I was probably a bit selfish in that way. And I was also very lucky that just by chance that creating things, and because I don't think it's just something which naturally comes to me. Creating things is valued in this world, being creative. It's lucky that that's the case. I could have been a great teacher or a great nurse, and I think those people are underpaid, and I feel like they do the most amazing things for this, and they contribute to humanity in much bigger ways probably than I do.
Yeah.
But I create a lot of value for people, and I think that's valued in this world, and it's just lucky that that's the case. But you can go and try and do something else as well. And I just ask you to just put a notification in your calendar, and every month ask yourself, is this ultimately what I want to be doing? And if there's enough months, 3 months happen in a row, you make a change right then and there. You commit, and write yourself a contract as well.
Yeah, I love. It's powerful. It's powerful.
Because I'm a man of my word, and I hope everyone else is as well.
Yeah, and you're saying that you're in the context that you're saying that is you're a man of your word to yourself.
Correct.
You're a man of your word to yourself. You live in your true. You try and live as close to your authentic light as possible, and lean into that, and constantly reiterate what you have to do to be able to do that for whatever month you're in.
Correct.
No, I love it. I love it, Fred. Fred, thank you so much for your time today on the podcast, mate. Mate, honestly, I am so hyped to talk about crypto like that. Honestly, I love it, mate. It lights me up. Honestly, it just lights me up on a different planet, mate. Because I see how much opportunity there is for people, myself. I'm going to start getting more and more crypto people on the podcast now, because I kind of identified that I just got to have them on. I just got to start bringing on the Michael Saylors and people like that as well, and just start having the Pomps on and all these kind of people too. I think you've just led me to that as well. Drop your Instagram on so people can follow you, and anywhere else that you want them to follow, and your website is fredschebesta.com. I'll link it all in the description, but just drop it for them so they've got it.
Yeah, you can just head to fredschebesta.com. That's probably the beginning, and then you can. It's the same name in Instagram and TikTok. Actually, I've been hitting up some TikTok of recent.
Yeah, you did a little collab with Fonzie.
I have. I just dropped another one yesterday. It's done 1 million views in 20 hours.
That's mad, mate. It's mad. Because I see him come up.
We're doing some crypto stuff there, so you'll see.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Fred, it was so good to have you on. And guys, if you can do us a solid favour, first things first, listen to this podcast twice. That's how powerful I think it is. Listen to this podcast twice and take notes, because this is some seriously powerful information. If you understand, if you want to understand it, it's gonna change your financial life. That's how powerful it is. Second thing I'll say is, once you've listened to this podcast once, drop me and Fred a message on Instagram. Would probably be the easiest platform, and let us know, give us feedback on this, and let us know. Share it on your stories. I know a lot of you share my content on Instagram and have shared it in the past. There's thousands of you listening right now. We started with nobody, but just because you shared it in episode 3 doesn't mean you can't share a good episode in episode 51, 52, 53, 54 as well. I just really appreciate it. There's no cost to entry here. All I'd like you to do is, if you get any value out of this podcast from me and Fred spending our time spitting this truth, just share it and tag us in it. I'd really appreciate that. And guys, that's all I can say. Just much love, and again, Fred, thank you for your time.
You're welcome, and thanks to everyone for listening, and thank you, Frankie.
Mate, I'm so hyped to drop this. Guys, go and listen to this again. That's all I can say.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Frankie